everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We are at day 6, the midpoint of our 2018 Twin Cities Film Fest, hosted by the Shops at West End and the beautiful Showplace Icon Theater where we are right now. We're so lucky to be up here on the Skin Rejuvenation Clinic sponsored red carpet. I'm lucky enough to get to be your host today. And our programming, because it's at the midpoint, we are not letting up at all. We have a tremendous afternoon with a great narrative film. We're joined by the director and writer, Frank Anderson. Thank you so much for being here. And this film is a really poignant story that you have chosen a couple of really tough themes. You incorporate some biblical reference, and it's really it's a journey, it's a transformative journey about a veteran who has brought a lot of his experiences back, and he's finding a pathway toward some healthy resolution to probably the toughest point in his life. Thank you so much for putting this project together. Talk to us about bringing this idea to life in film.
And it also has a little bit of the book of Job in it, which is all about suffering, and it's a comedy part of the time. But I have been driving a special education bus myself for the past about 5 years, and I picked up a kid, and he reminded me of the book of Job, and I brought a lot of my information in it, my life, and came about how it might work real life.
It's been said right about what you know, and you're doing that. Can you talk to us about bringing the war element in and what that does to our veterans and how that story can be brought back with them as they transition back into the regular life?
Yep, I had a number of friends in the Vietnam War. I'm a little older than Eddie, but I had talked to them about some of their issues and how rough it is and how there isn't a lot of help for them just yet, but they're getting there. And Eddie has had some of that in his career. He was in the Iraq War and in the campaign for Fallujah, which, as you recall, was a very hand-to-hand kind of combat. And he may or may not have been involved when a number of kids were killed. It's kind of a nebulous thing in the film, and I didn't want to really focus on him and that issue alone, as opposed to the young man in the wheelchair. But they kind of tie in together.
Yep.
If he can help the kid, maybe he'll help himself, redeem himself from what happened in the war.
Absolutely. And so talking into the story itself, putting this film together, you wrote, yes?
Yep.
Finding your cast, finding those that are going to tell the story. We're going to get to talk to Peter today, which is great. He's nice enough to join us. And I saw Stacia's here as well, which is so awesome. They're here in support of your film. But how important is it finding those right characters to be able to demonstrate the layers that are involved in a story like this?
It is incredibly important. And I was an actor in the Twin Cities for about 20 years.
No way!
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. So I had a good knowledge of some of the actors. I also have a good friend through my church that helped me locate one of the critics used to be a critic for the Tribune.
Yep.
He knew a lot of the actors, of course, in his work, so I would go to their plays. I would see Stacia or Peter or a lot of them and just give them the script and see what they thought. And time and again, they'd say, yeah, I'd love to work on this. And I just got about every actress and actor that I wanted in the film that would fit the part just perfectly.
Awesome to hear. What has, if there has been any, depending on how you've been able to share the film yet, what has reaction been to your project?
All of my friends and family just love it. But I don't know where it's going to go from here, really.
Well, you'll find out, because we're so proud to have it here as part of the Twin Cities Film Fest.
Exciting.
Now, are you going to make more films? Are you going to keep telling stories? Tell us a little bit more about your own personal journey and what's next for you.
I already have some scripts ready to go if you know anybody. But I didn't know what I was doing when I started writing scripts. And so I wrote some. One is called Curse of the Zombies. Nothing like special ed. Then I have a science fiction thing that would have probably been $90 million. But I do have the idea going. But I've learned from this movie to have one location. And that's what I'm writing now.
Simplify that process if you can, and talk about versatility. I'm glad I asked about these other projects that are possibly in the mix for you, because yes, you're stepping all over the place, which is great.
Yeah, it's fun to write. I'm sure what was the question again?
Oh, just about a little bit about you as a filmmaker and kind of where you're going to take your journey next.
Well, the script I'm working on right now is a mindless thriller about a slimy public storage place, and it takes place in Reno, Nevada. I hate to talk about it because it's horrible to
No, we don't
compare
have
it to special ed that has some really
yes. and a mindless filler is sometimes great, but
You might make some money off a mindless filler.
Possibly. Let's not underestimate a poignant, mindful project like this one, which we get to showcase today. We're going to get to talk to your cast today. Frank, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
Like I mentioned, we are right on the forefront of special ed, which is screening today and part of our Day 6 programming. We're going to be right back. Thank you so much for joining us.